You've tried everything. Vision boards, affirmations, grinding harder, still stuck. What if alignment isn't about doing more, but removing what blocks flow? Here's the gap. Most people confuse hustle with alignment. Second gap, you're chasing goals that aren't actually yours. Third gap, magic isn't woo-woo. It's neurological coherence meeting right action. Stakes. Every misaligned day costs you energy, clarity, and years off your real path. The promise. Alignment creates synchronicities so consistent they look like magic. This audiobook shows you how to feel it, test it, and live it. Let's start with what you already know, but haven't fully admitted yet. There's a difference between working hard and working right. You can feel it in your body. Some days you finish exhausted but satisfied. Other days you finish exhausted and empty. That emptiness is the misalignment tax, and you've been paying it for longer than you realize. Chapter 1 begins with a simple question. Why does effort feel so heavy? Not all effort, of course. Sometimes you work for hours and emerge energized. Sometimes you work for 20 minutes and need a nap. The difference isn't the task itself. It's whether that task aligns with your actual truth or fights against it. Think about the last time you said yes when you meant no. Maybe it was a project at work, a social invitation, or a favor for a friend. Your mouth said yes. Your body said no. You did it anyway. What happened next? You probably procrastinated, resented the task, or performed it with half your capacity. That's not laziness. That's your system trying to protect you from continued misalignment. Here's what most people miss. Your body knows before your mind does. Your nervous system registers misalignment as threat. When you override that signal repeatedly, you train yourself to ignore your most reliable guidance system. You become numb to the whispers, so life has to shout. The shout comes as burnout, illness, or a crisis that forces you to stop. The misalignment tax shows up in 4 primary ways. First, chronic fatigue that sleep doesn't fix. You wake up tired. You push through. You collapse on weekends. This isn't about needing more rest. It's about spending energy on things that drain rather than fuel you. Second, decision paralysis. When you're misaligned, even small choices feel impossible. What to eat, what to wear, which email to answer first. Your decision-making capacity depletes because you're using it to override your instincts all day long. Third, diminishing returns. You work harder and get less done. You try new strategies that used to work but now fall flat. This isn't failure. It's your system saying the direction itself is wrong, not your effort. Fourth, absence of joy. You achieve things and feel nothing. You check boxes and feel hollow. You're successful by external measures and miserable by internal ones. When was the last time you felt genuinely delighted by your own life? Not grateful in an obligatory way, but actually lit up. If you can't remember, you're paying the tax. Let me tell you about Marcus. He built a consulting business that looked perfect on paper. 6 figures. Flexible schedule. Respected clients. Every morning he woke up with dread. He'd sit at his laptop and feel his chest tighten. He told himself he was lucky. He told himself to be grateful. He pushed harder. Then one afternoon, his body made the decision his mind couldn't. Panic attack. Emergency room. Clean bill of health, but a clear message. Stop. Marcus spent 6 months unraveling the truth. He didn't hate consulting. He hated the type of consulting he'd built. He'd chased what looked impressive, not what felt right. When he finally pivoted to working with nonprofits instead of corporations, something shifted. Same skills, different alignment. He started waking up early because he wanted to, not because he had to. That's not magic. That's what happens when you stop fighting yourself. Now think about your own life. Where are you performing success instead of living it? Where are you doing the right thing according to someone else's definition? The misalignment tax compounds. One wrong yes leads to another. One ignored instinct makes the next one easier to dismiss. Before you know it, you're living a life that looks good but feels wrong. Here's the truth that changes everything. Alignment isn't about finding your passion or discovering your purpose. It's about removing the layers of should that obscure what's already true. You don't need to become someone new. You need to stop pretending to be someone you're not. The first step is developing sensitivity to how things feel in your body, not how they sound in your head. Your mind can rationalize anything. It can build elaborate justifications for why you should stay, try harder, give it more time. Your body just knows. Tight chest, wrong direction, open breath, right direction. It's that simple, but we've been trained to complicate it. Most of us learned early that our feelings don't matter as much as other people's comfort. Be polite, don't make waves. Sacrifice your truth for social cohesion. Those lessons served a purpose when you were young and dependent. They're killing you now that you're not. Unlearning the conditioning requires practice. You have to build new neural pathways that prioritize internal signals over external approval. This doesn't mean becoming selfish. It means becoming honest. When you're aligned, you have more to give, not less. Misalignment makes you resentful and depleted. Alignment makes you generous and energized. So here's your first exercise. Over the next 24 hours, notice every time you say yes when you mean no. Don't try to change it yet. Just notice. Feel what happens in your body in the moment before you override yourself. That split second contains everything you need to know about the misalignment tax. Most people never pause long enough to feel it. Start keeping what I call the heaviness inventory. Take a piece of paper or open a note on your phone. List 10 things you're currently doing, pursuing, or maintaining. Rate each one on a scale of 1 to 10 based on how heavy it feels. 1 means effortless flow. 10 means crushing weight. Be honest. No one else will see this. Once you have your ratings, look at anything above a 7. Those are your primary tax payments. They're costing you the most. For each one, ask yourself, whose goal is this really? Who would be disappointed if I stopped? What am I afraid would happen if I let this go? You might discover that you're carrying goals that belong to your parents, your younger self, or some imagined version of who you should be. You might discover that the fear of disappointing others has been stronger than the pain of disappointing yourself. That stops now. Chapter 2 brings us to the alignment diagnostic. This is a 7-question audit that reveals whether your goals are truly yours or borrowed from others. Most people have never done this inventory. They inherit a life plan and execute it without questioning whether it fits. Question 1. If no one would ever know what you chose, what would you choose? This removes the performance element. Strip away the Instagram post, the resume line, the dinner party story. What would you do if it were only for you? Your answer reveals whether you're living for internal satisfaction or external validation. Question 2. When you imagine achieving this goal, do you feel expansion or relief? Expansion means you want the thing itself. Relief means you want to stop feeling bad about not having it. Relief-based goals are always borrowed. They're driven by shame, not desire. Question 3. Can you describe why you want this in your own words, without using phrases you've heard from others? If your explanation sounds like it came from a TED Talk or a parent's advice, it's probably not yours. Authentic desire has its own language. It's specific, weird, and unmistakable. Question 4. Does this goal require you to become someone different, or does it let you become more of who you already are? Growth is good. Self-abandonment is not. The right goals feel like permission, not transformation. Question 5. When you work toward this goal, do you feel energized or depleted? Track your energy across a week. Notice what activities drain you and which ones fuel you. Aligned goals might be challenging, but they don't leave you empty. Question 6. If you achieved this goal and nothing else changed, would you be satisfied? Sometimes we chase one thing hoping it will fix everything else. The promotion will make us happy. The relationship will complete us. The achievement will prove we're enough. Aligned goals are wanted for themselves, not as proxies for something else. Question 7. Have you wanted this consistently, or does your desire fluctuate based on who you're around? Borrowed goals intensify in certain company and fade when you're alone. Your goals should be yours in every context. Now score yourself. For each question, give yourself 1 point if your answer suggests genuine alignment, 0 if it suggests borrowed desire. If you scored 6 or 7, you're on your path. If you scored 3 to 5, you're split between your truth and others' expectations. If you scored 0 to 2, you're living someone else's life. This isn't about judgment. It's about clarity. You can't align with your truth until you know what your truth is. Most people never ask these questions. They inherit a script and perform it until something breaks. Let me tell you about Sophia. She went to law school because her father was a lawyer and her older sister was a lawyer, and it seemed like the smart, stable choice. She was good at it. She made partner. She was miserable. For years she told herself it would get better. Different firm, different practice area, different city. Nothing worked because the problem wasn't the details. It was the entire direction. When she finally ran the alignment diagnostic, she scored a 1 out of 7. Almost everything she'd built was for someone else. The hardest part wasn't admitting it. It was grieving the time she'd spent going the wrong way. But here's what happened next. She didn't quit law. She pivoted. She started working with artists and small creative businesses on contract negotiations. Same skills, completely different energy. Within 6 months, she felt like a different person. That's alignment. You might be afraid of what you'll discover when you run this diagnostic. You might be afraid that your whole life is borrowed. That's unlikely. More often, you'll find that 80% is aligned and 20% is obligation. That 20% is costing you 80% of your energy. When you release it, everything else becomes easier. Here's what's important to understand. Alignment isn't static. It's seasonal. What was true for you 5 years ago might not be true now. What aligned in your 20s might misalign in your 40s. The diagnostic isn't a one-time test. It's a regular practice. Run it quarterly. Check in. Adjust. This is how you stay on your path instead of drifting onto someone else's. Now we move to Chapter 3, Clearing the Static. Before you can hear your internal guidance, you have to turn down the noise. Most people are operating with so much nervous system activation that they can't distinguish between fear and intuition, between anxiety and excitement. Your nervous system has 2 modes, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is your gas pedal. It mobilizes you for action. Parasympathetic is your brake. It calms you for rest and recovery. Most modern humans are stuck in sympathetic overdrive. You're running from threats that don't exist, flooding your body with stress hormones, and wondering why you can't relax. Chronic activation doesn't just feel bad. It distorts your perception. When your nervous system is dysregulated, everything looks like a threat. Small challenges feel like catastrophes. Minor disappointments feel like failures. You're not weak. You're physiologically overwhelmed. The good news? You can reset your nervous system in minutes. Not forever, but enough to restore baseline calm. From that calm, you can access clarity. From clarity, you can make aligned decisions. Here are 3 techniques that work immediately. First, shaking. This sounds absurd until you try it. Stand with your feet hip-width apart. Start bouncing gently on your knees. Let the bounce travel up through your body. Let your arms shake loose. Let your jaw release. Do this for 2 minutes. You're discharging trapped activation the way animals do after a predator encounter. Trauma and stress get stored in the body. Shaking releases it. Second, extended exhales. Your inhale activates your sympathetic system. Your exhale activates your parasympathetic system. When you're stressed, you take short, shallow breaths that keep you activated. To calm down, breathe in for 4 counts, out for 8. Repeat 10 times. The long exhale tells your body the threat is over. You can stand down. Third, cold exposure. Splash cold water on your face or hold ice against your wrists. This triggers the dive reflex, which slows your heart rate and calms your system instantly. 30 seconds is enough. You're hacking your physiology to override mental loops. Practice these techniques right now. Pause the audiobook. Shake for 2 minutes. Then do 10 rounds of extended exhales. Notice how you feel before and after. Rate your calm on a scale of 1 to 10. Most people gain at least 3 points. That's not placebo. That's neurobiology. Once your system is calm, you can start distinguishing between fear and intuition. Fear is loud. It catastrophizes. It says everything is urgent. Intuition is quiet. It's specific. It says this yes, that no. When you're dysregulated, you can't hear the difference. When you're calm, it's obvious. Here's what nobody tells you. Alignment requires regulation first. You can't feel your way to the right path when you're in constant fight or flight. You have to calm your system enough to hear yourself. This is why meditation helps some people and frustrates others. If you're too activated, sitting still amplifies the noise. You have to discharge first, then settle. Build a daily reset practice. It doesn't have to be long. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes before bed. Shake, breathe, or use cold. Reset your baseline. Over time, you'll notice you're less reactive, less anxious, less overwhelmed. That's not because your life got easier. It's because your nervous system got regulated. Most people think they need to change their circumstances to feel better. They need a different job, a different relationship, a different city. Sometimes that's true. Often, they just need a regulated nervous system. From regulation comes clarity. From clarity comes aligned action. From aligned action comes the life that actually fits. Chapter 4 explores the distinction between desire and should. This is where most people get stuck. They can't tell the difference between what they want and what they think they should want. The two feel identical until you learn to separate them. Desire rises from your body. It's specific. It's irrational. It doesn't care about practicality or optics. Desire says, I want to paint. I want to move to the coast. I want to quit and travel. Should comes from your mind. It's general. It's logical. It cares deeply about what makes sense. Should says you need stability. You should be grateful. You can't just quit. The problem is that we've been trained to trust should over desire. Should sounds responsible. Desire sounds selfish. So we override desire until we can't hear it anymore. Then we wonder why our lives feel hollow. Here's the test. Ask yourself what you want. Notice the first answer that comes. If it arrives with a feeling of openness in your chest, that's desire. If it arrives with tension, that's should pretending to be desire. Desire feels like possibility. Should feels like obligation. Let's practice. Think about a decision you're facing right now. It could be small or large. What to eat for dinner. Whether to accept a job offer. Whether to end a relationship. Ask yourself, what do I want? Wait for the first answer. Don't edit it. Don't rationalize it. Just notice it. Now ask, what should I do? Wait for that answer. Compare the two. Are they the same? If yes, you're aligned. If no, you have a choice to make. Will you honor your desire or defer to should? Most people spend their whole lives deferring. They should their way through careers, relationships, cities, and identities. They do what makes sense until they can't anymore. Then they have a crisis. The crisis isn't a breakdown. It's a breakthrough. It's desire finally breaking through the layers of should. You don't have to wait for a crisis. You can start choosing desire now. Not recklessly, not impulsively, but intentionally. Start small. What do you want for lunch today? Not what you should eat. What do you want? Honor that. Build the muscle. Here's what happens when you start choosing desire. You feel more alive. Not happier necessarily, but more awake. You stop sleepwalking through your days. You start inhabiting your life instead of observing it from a distance. That aliveness is alignment. Now let's talk about the voice that says you can't trust desire. It says desire is selfish, destructive, short-sighted. That voice is trying to protect you, but it's working from outdated information. When you were young, maybe desire got you in trouble. Maybe expressing what you wanted led to punishment or rejection, so you learned to suppress it. That strategy worked then. It's limiting you now. Adult desire, when it comes from an unregulated nervous system, is trustworthy. It knows what you need. It guides you toward growth. The desires that are actually destructive usually come from dysregulation, not alignment. The urge to numb out, lash out, or check out, that's not desire. That's pain-seeking relief. Learn to distinguish between aligned desire and dysregulated impulse. Aligned desire is consistent over time. It doesn't spike and crash. It's present when you're calm, not just when you're activated. Dysregulated impulse is reactive. It shows up when you're triggered and fades when you settle. If you're not sure which you're feeling, wait. Use the 48-hour rule. When you feel a strong pull toward something, don't act immediately. Sit with it for 2 days. If it's still there after 48 hours of calm, it's aligned desire. If it fades, it was an impulse. This rule saves you from regret without suppressing your truth. Sophia, the lawyer we met earlier, used this rule when she was deciding whether to leave her firm. The impulse to quit showed up every Monday morning in a wave of panic. That was dysregulation. The desire to work with creative clients showed up consistently in calm moments over months. That was alignment. She waited. She tested. She trusted. She was right, you can do this too. Start noticing your desires without acting on them immediately. Watch them over time. The real ones persist. The reactive ones dissolve. This is how you build trust in your own guidance system. You test it. You see that it's reliable. You stop second-guessing yourself. Chapter 5 reveals the synchronicity test. When you're aligned, life responds. Things click into place. Doors open. Resources appear. People show up with exactly what you need. This isn't magic. It's the natural result of moving in your right direction. Most people dismiss synchronicity as coincidence. They notice something helpful happened and call it luck. But when you track synchronicities over time, patterns emerge. They cluster around aligned action. They vanish around misaligned effort. Your job is to recognize them and amplify them. There are 4 types of synchronicity to watch for. First, ease. Things that should be hard become easy. You find the perfect apartment on the first day of looking. You meet someone who solves a problem you just discovered. The right information arrives at the right time. Ease isn't always synchronicity, but repeated ease in a particular direction is a signal. Second, resonance. You meet people who mirror your values and vision. Conversations flow. Collaborations form naturally. You're not forcing connection. It's effortless. When you're misaligned, You feel like you're speaking a different language than everyone around you. When you're aligned, you find your people. Third, resources. Money appears. Time opens up. Tools become available. Not through manipulation or hustle, but through alignment. The universe is biased toward coherence. When you're internally coherent, external resources flow more easily. When you're conflicted, they stick. Fourth, feedback. Small signals tell you whether to continue or adjust. A door closes, steering you elsewhere. An unexpected obstacle reroutes you to something better. This only works if you're paying attention and willing to adapt. Rigidity blocks synchronicity. Start keeping a synchronicity journal. Every time something clicks into place, write it down. Date it. Note what you were doing when it happened. Over a month, you'll see patterns. You'll notice which activities generate synchronicity and which ones don't. Then you can do more of what works. Here's the key. You can't force synchronicity. You can only create conditions for it. Those conditions are internal alignment plus external action. If you're aligned but passive, nothing happens. If you're active but misaligned, you're just grinding. The magic is in the intersection. Think about a time when everything went right. Not because you controlled every variable, but because you were in flow. What were you doing? How did you feel? That feeling is your alignment signal. Learn to recognize it. Learn to cultivate it. Learn to follow it. Some people resist this idea. They think it sounds too mystical, too magical, too convenient. They want to believe they succeed through effort alone. But effort without alignment is exhausting. Alignment with effort is powerful. You're not choosing between the two. You're learning to combine them. Marcus, the consultant we met earlier, noticed synchronicity the week he decided to pivot to nonprofit work. He mentioned it casually to a friend. The friend connected him with a nonprofit director. That director needed exactly his expertise. Within 10 days, he had his first client. That wasn't luck. That was alignment creating a clear path. When you're misaligned, you can hustle for months and get nowhere. When you're aligned, you mention something once and doors open. The difference isn't your worthiness or your skill. It's your coherence. Coherence is magnetic. Now we arrive at Chapter 6, Decision-Making from Alignment. Most people make decisions from fear. They choose what's safe, what's expected, what avoids disappointment. Those decisions might be rational, but they're rarely right. Aligned decisions come from a different place. The problem with fear-based decisions is that they compound. One fearful choice leads to another. Before long, you've built a life designed to minimize risk rather than maximize truth. You're safe and miserable. That's not a good trade. Aligned decision-making requires you to access clarity first. Remember the nervous system reset techniques from Chapter 3? Use them before every major decision. You cannot make a good decision from a dysregulated state. Calm first, choose second. Once you're calm, ask the decision through your body, not your mind. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths. Say out loud, I choose option A. Notice what happens in your body. Expansion or contraction? Lightness or heaviness? Then say, I choose option B. Notice again. Your body knows. It always knows. This is not about ignoring logic. It's about adding embodied wisdom to your logical analysis. Your mind is good at predicting outcomes. Your body is good at knowing which outcome you actually want. Use both. Here's where the 48-hour rule becomes essential. When you feel pressure to decide quickly, pause. Most urgency is manufactured. If someone is pushing you to choose immediately, that's often a red flag. Aligned opportunities don't require hasty decisions. They're still there after you've had time to feel into them. During those 48 hours, live as if you've already made each choice. Imagine you said yes. How does that feel tomorrow morning? How does it feel a month from now? Then imagine you said no. Same questions. Whichever option you can inhabit more easily is your answer. Let's practice this right now with a visualization. Close your eyes if you're in a safe place to do so. If not, just soften your gaze. Think of a decision you're facing. It could be anything. Picture yourself choosing the first option. See yourself 6 months from now having made that choice. What's your life like? How do you feel waking up each day? Notice your body's response. Now release that image. Shake it off. Picture yourself choosing the second option. Same process. 6 months later. What's your life like? How do you feel? Notice your body's response. Open your eyes. Which version felt more alive? That's your answer. Most people know what they want to choose. They're just afraid to admit it. They hope that more analysis will make the scary choice less scary. It won't. Aligned decisions often feel scary and right at the same time. That combination is your green light. Fear says, what if I fail? Alignment says, what if I don't try? Fear says, What will people think? Alignment says, what will I think of myself if I don't listen? You can't eliminate fear. You can choose alignment anyway. Chapter 7 brings us to relationships as mirrors. Every person in your life reflects something about your internal state. The people who drain you reflect where you're abandoning yourself. The people who energize you reflect where you're aligned. This isn't about blaming yourself for others' behavior. It's about recognizing that you can only tolerate in others what you're tolerating in yourself. If you're surrounded by people who dismiss your needs, ask yourself, where am I dismissing my needs? If you're surrounded by people who celebrate your growth, ask yourself, where am I celebrating my growth? Relationships change when you change. Not because you're manipulating anyone, but because your alignment shifts what you tolerate and what you attract. When you stop abandoning yourself, you stop accepting abandonment from others. When you start honoring your truth, you attract people who honor it too. This can be disorienting. Some relationships will end, not because anyone is bad or wrong, but because you're no longer a vibrational match. You're growing in different directions. That's okay. Grieve it and release it. Holding on to relationships that no longer fit is another form of misalignment. Other relationships will deepen. The people who are always aligned with your truth will feel even closer. You'll have more to give them because you're not depleting yourself elsewhere. Alignment doesn't make you isolated. It makes you more genuinely connected. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. Energized or drained? Clear or confused? Yourself or performing? Those feelings tell you everything. Some people bring out your alignment. Others activate your misalignment. Choose accordingly. This doesn't mean you cut off everyone who challenges you. Challenge is different from depletion. Challenge pushes you to grow. Depletion makes you shrink. Learn the difference. Keep the people who challenge you toward expansion. Release the people who require you to contract. Think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. For each one, ask, does this person celebrate my truth or require me to hide it? Do I feel more myself or less myself around them? Am I giving from overflow or from depletion? Your answers reveal where your relationships support your alignment and where they sabotage it. Now here's the hard part. You might realize that someone you love is misaligned with your truth. Maybe it's a family member, a long-term friend, or a partner. You don't have to cut them off. But you do have to adjust the relationship to protect your alignment. That might mean less time together, clearer boundaries, or more honest conversations. People will react to your alignment. Some will celebrate it, others will resist it. The resistance isn't about you. It's about them. Your alignment challenges their misalignment. Your courage to change makes their stagnation more visible. They're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to protect their own comfort. Stay aligned anyway. The people who are meant to be in your life will adjust or leave. Either way, you win. You either get deeper connection with people who support your truth, or you get space for people who will. Misaligned relationships are expensive. They cost you energy, clarity, and years. Let me tell you about Jennifer. She had a best friend from college, someone she'd known for 15 years. They talked weekly, visited each other, shared everything. Then Jennifer started her alignment journey. She began saying no to things that didn't feel right. She started honoring her energy instead of overriding it. She made changes in her career and her relationships. Her friend's response was immediate and uncomfortable. Every conversation became criticism disguised as concern. You're changing too much. You're being selfish. You're not the person I knew. What Jennifer's friend was really saying was, your growth is forcing me to look at my stagnation, and I don't like what I see. Jennifer tried to explain. She tried to bring her friend along. But some people don't want to grow. They want you to... It hurt. Grief is real even when the choice is right. But within weeks, Jennifer noticed something. She had more energy. She felt lighter. And new people started appearing in her life. People who celebrated her growth instead of resenting it. People who were on their own alignment journeys and understood hers. The universe doesn't leave you empty when you release what's complete. It fills the space with what's aligned. Here's a relationship audit practice you can do right now. Take out a piece of paper or open a note on your phone. Write down the names of the 10 people you interact with most frequently. For each person, rate 3 things on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 means very low, 10 means very high. First, energy exchange. After spending time with this person, do you feel energized or drained? Second, authenticity. Can you be fully yourself with this person, or do you perform a version of yourself? Third, growth support. Does this person encourage your evolution, or prefer you stay the same? Add up the scores for each person. Anyone scoring below 15 out of 30 is costing you alignment. Anyone scoring above 24 is supporting your alignment. Everyone in between is neutral. Look at your low scorers. These are the relationships that need adjustment or release. Look at your high scorers. These are the relationships to deepen and prioritize. Now here's where it gets nuanced. You might have low scores you can't simply remove from your life. A family member, a coworker, a co-parent. You're going to see these people regardless. The question becomes, how do you protect your alignment while maintaining necessary relationships? The answer is boundaries. Clear, kind, consistent boundaries. A boundary isn't a punishment. It's a protection. It's you saying, I care about this relationship enough to be honest about what I can and cannot do within it. Most people avoid boundaries because they fear conflict. But lack of boundaries creates resentment, which creates worse conflict later. Here's how to set a boundary without being cruel. First, acknowledge the relationship matters to you. Second, state your limit clearly and simply. Third, offer what you can give instead. For example, Mom, I love you and I value our relationship. I can't talk on the phone every day anymore because it's depleting my energy. I can talk once a week on Sundays. Would that work for you? Notice what that does. It's not blaming. It's not punishing. It's just honest. Some people will respect it immediately. Others will test it. That's when you have to hold firm. Boundaries without enforcement aren't boundaries. They're suggestions. If you set a boundary and then cave the first time someone pushes, you've taught them your boundaries don't matter. Holding boundaries feels uncomfortable at first. You'll worry you're being mean. You'll feel guilty. That guilt is your old programming talking. It's the part of you that learned love means self-abandonment. That part is wrong. Real love includes honoring yourself. If someone only loves you when you abandon yourself, that's not love. That's manipulation. Practice this. Every time you feel guilty for setting a boundary, place your hand on your heart and say, I am allowed to have limits. I am allowed to protect my energy. I am allowed to honor my truth. Say it until the guilt softens. The guilt will try to convince you that boundaries are selfish. They're not. They're sustainable. Now let's talk about what happens when you start living aligned and the people closest to you get uncomfortable. This is almost guaranteed to happen. Your partner might say you're distant. Your parents might say you're different. Your friends might say you're changing. They're right. You are changing. The question is, will they change with you or require you to stay the same? This is the relationship crucible. It reveals who's in your life because they love who you are versus who's in your life because they love who they need you to be. The people who love who you are will be curious about your changes. They'll ask questions. They'll want to understand. The people who love who they need you to be will resist. They'll criticize. They'll try to pull you back. You can't control their response. You can only control your commitment to alignment. And here's what you need to know. If you abandon yourself to keep someone comfortable, you'll resent them eventually. That resentment will poison the relationship anyway. You might as well honor yourself and see if the relationship can adapt. Some relationships will surprise you. The person you thought would resist might become your biggest supporter. The person you thought would understand might become your harshest critic. Don't assume. Have honest conversations. Give people a chance to rise to your truth, but don't wait forever for them to catch up. There's a concept called the crab bucket mentality. When you put crabs in a bucket, if one tries to climb out, the others pull it back down. Not because they're malicious, but because they don't want to be left behind. Humans do this too. When you start climbing toward your aligned life, some people will pull you back. Not because they hate you, but because your ascent highlights their stagnation. Don't let them. Climb anyway. The crabs who want out will follow your lead. The crabs who want to stay will eventually find another bucket. Your job isn't to save everyone. Your job is to live your truth and let that truth inspire whoever is ready to be inspired. Here's a 7-day relationship realignment practice. Each day, focus on one specific relationship dynamic. Day 1. Notice your people-pleasing patterns. Every time you say yes when you mean no, write it down. Don't judge it. Just observe. How many times did you abandon yourself today to keep someone else comfortable? Day 2. Practice micro-honesty. Tell 3 small truths you'd normally hide. I actually don't feel like going out tonight. I need some time alone this weekend. I prefer tea over coffee. Notice what happens when you tell the truth about small things. Day 3. Set one boundary. Pick something minor you've been tolerating. Maybe your friend always calls during your work time. Maybe your sibling makes jokes that bother you. Set one clear, kind boundary. See how it feels. Day 4. Appreciate your aligned relationships. Reach out to one person who supports your truth and tell them specifically why you value them. Acknowledging aligned relationships strengthens them. Day 5. Have a hard conversation. There's someone you've been avoiding talking to honestly. Today's the day. Use the boundary formula. Acknowledge, state your truth, offer what you can. Even if it goes badly, you'll feel relief for being honest. Day 6. Release something. Unfollow someone on social media who makes you feel bad about yourself. Skip an obligation that's been draining you. Cancel plans that don't align. Practice small releases. Day 7. Review the week. What changed in your relationships when you started prioritizing alignment? What felt scary that turned out fine? What felt fine that turned out scary? What do you want to continue? What do you want to adjust? This 7-day practice isn't a one-time event. It's a cycle you can repeat monthly. Relationships are living things. They require ongoing attention and realignment. You're not trying to perfect your relationships. You're trying to keep them honest. One more critical piece about relationships and alignment. You can't align with your truth while constantly consuming other people's truths. Social media makes this harder than ever. You're exposed to thousands of opinions, lifestyles, and choices every day. It's noise that drowns out your signal. If you're serious about alignment, you need to create space from the noise. This doesn't mean becoming a hermit. It means being selective about whose voices you let into your head. Unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate. Mute people whose energy depletes you. Limit your consumption of other people's lives so you have room to live your own. Notice how you feel after scrolling. Inspired or inadequate, energized or envious, connected or lonely. Your feelings tell you whether your digital relationships are aligned or misaligned. Curate your feed like you curate your friend group. Only let in what supports your truth. Here's the relationship mirror principle in action. Every dynamic you have with others is a dynamic you have with yourself. If you're constantly judging others, you're judging yourself. If you're constantly rescuing others, you're not rescuing yourself. If you're constantly abandoning others' needs, you're abandoning your own. The external is always a reflection of the internal. This means that fixing your relationships starts with fixing your relationship with yourself. When you stop abandoning yourself, you stop tolerating abandonment from others. When you start celebrating yourself, you attract people who celebrate you. When you honor your limits, you attract people who respect them. You don't have to teach people how to treat you. You just have to model how you treat yourself, and they'll follow or leave. The most aligned relationship you'll ever have is with yourself. Get that one right, and all the others become easier. Betray yourself repeatedly, and no external relationship will ever feel secure. This is why alignment work is relationship work. You're learning to be an honest, respectful, boundaried relationship with your own truth. Once you master that, your external relationships reorganize to match. Chapter 8 explores seasons of realignment. Alignment isn't a destination. It's a dynamic process. What aligns in one season of life misaligns in another. Your job is to notice when a season is ending and be willing to let it go. Most people miss these transitions. They hold on to identities, relationships, careers, and goals that used to fit but don't anymore. They keep watering dead plants. There are 3 signs a season is ending. First, diminishing returns. You're putting in the same effort and getting less result. Not because you're failing, but because the season has shifted. What worked before doesn't work now. This is information, not indictment. Second, loss of curiosity. You used to care deeply about this thing. Now you're going through the motions. The spark is gone. You tell yourself it will come back. It won't. That spark was the signal you're ready for something new. Third, persistent obstacles. You keep hitting walls. Things that should be straightforward become complicated. You interpret this as resistance to overcome. Sometimes it is. Often it's the universe saying, wrong direction. Try something else. When you notice these signs, pause. Ask yourself, am I in the wrong season, or am I just uncomfortable with growth? Discomfort isn't always a sign to quit. Sometimes it's a sign you're expanding. The difference is this. Growth discomfort comes with energy and curiosity. Season-ending discomfort comes with depletion and apathy. If you're genuinely at the end of a season, the next question is, what do I need to release? Not what can you save, not what can you fix, but what needs to end. This is scary. Endings are grief, but endings are also liberation. When you release what's complete, you make space for what's next. Here's a practice. Write down everything you're currently committed to. projects, relationships, identities, goals, everything. For each one, ask, is this season still alive, or is it complete? If it's complete, thank it for what it gave you. Then let it go. Letting go doesn't require dramatic gestures. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow or end your relationship today. But you do have to stop pretending the season isn't over. You do have to start orienting toward what's next. You do have to grieve what's ending while you prepare for what's beginning. Some people resist endings because they fear the void. They don't know what comes next, so they cling to what is. But the void is where transformation happens. You can't become who you're meant to be while holding on to who you were. Release is required. Trust that something is on the other side of the ending. You don't have to see it clearly, you just have to be willing to walk toward it. Alignment reveals itself one step at a time, not all at once. Take the first step. The next will appear. Let me tell you about David. He spent 8 years building a photography business. He was good at it. He had steady clients. He made decent money. But somewhere around year 6, something shifted. The excitement faded. He stopped seeing creative possibilities in every shoot. He started dreading client calls. He told himself it was burnout. He told himself he just needed a vacation. He took 2 weeks off. Came back. Nothing changed. For 2 more years, David pushed through. He kept booking clients. He kept delivering work. But the quality declined. His creativity dried up. His clients noticed. Reviews got less enthusiastic. Referrals slowed down. David interpreted this as failure. He thought he was losing his touch. He worked harder. It got worse. Finally, his body forced the issue. Chronic migraines. Every shoot ended with blinding pain. His doctor found nothing wrong physically. The migraines were his system screaming, "This season is over." David finally listened. He took 3 months off. Really off. No clients, no cameras, just space. In that space, something interesting emerged. He started painting. He'd never painted before. Didn't think he had the skill. But he felt pulled to try. The first paintings were terrible. He didn't care. He painted anyway. Within 2 months, he was painting daily. Within 4 months, he had enough pieces for a small show. Within 6 months, he'd sold half his photography gear and rented a studio space. David didn't plan to become a painter. He didn't analyze whether it made financial sense. He just followed the pull. Photography had been a beautiful season. It taught him to see. It gave him a career. It was complete. Painting was calling. Fighting the transition had made him sick. Surrendering to it made him whole. Here's what David learned. Seasons don't end because you failed. They end because you succeeded. You extracted everything that season had to teach you. You built everything that season was meant to build. Now it's done. Holding on isn't loyalty, it's fear. The void between seasons is uncomfortable. You've left what was, but what's next hasn't fully formed. You're in transition. Most people panic in this space. They rush to fill it with anything to avoid the uncertainty. Don't. The void is sacred. It's where you metabolize the old season and receive clarity about the new one. When you're in the void, practice these 3 things. First, resist the urge to fill your schedule. Keep space open. Boredom is where creativity emerges. Emptiness is where inspiration finds you. If you're constantly busy, you'll miss the signals about what's next. Second, pay attention to small pulls. What are you curious about? What keeps showing up in your thoughts? What do you find yourself researching for no practical reason? These breadcrumbs lead somewhere. Follow them without needing to know where. Third, grieve what's ending. Don't bypass the loss. Even good endings carry grief. You're saying goodbye to an identity, a routine, a version of yourself. That deserves acknowledgement. Cry if you need to. Write about it. Talk about it. Let yourself feel the sadness of closure before you move toward the excitement of beginning. Here's a release ritual you can do when you're ready to let a season go. Find a quiet space where you won't be interrupted. Bring something to write with. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths. Think about the season that's ending. See it clearly in your mind. Remember when it started. Remember what it gave you. Remember who you were when you entered it and who you are now leaving it. Feel gratitude for everything it brought, even the hard parts. Now open your eyes and write a goodbye letter to this season. Address it directly. Thank it for what it taught you. Acknowledge what it cost you. Tell it what you're taking with you and what you're leaving behind. Be specific. Be honest. Take as long as you need. When you're finished, read the letter out loud. Let yourself feel the words. Then decide what to do with the letter. Some people burn it as a symbolic release. Others bury it. Others keep it in a memory box. There's no wrong way. The ritual is in the writing and the speaking. The rest is personal preference. After the ritual, you might feel relief. You might feel sadness. You might feel both. All of it is okay. You've honored the ending. You've created space for the beginning. Now you wait, not passively, but actively. You stay open. You follow curiosity. You trust timing. Seasons have their own rhythm. You can't force spring to arrive in winter. You can't make fruit ripen before it's ready. The same is true for your life seasons. There's a timing to things. Your job is to recognize where you are in the cycle and work with it instead of against it. Winter seasons are for rest and reflection. You're not producing much externally. You're rebuilding internally. If you're in a winter season, stop trying to be productive. Let yourself be dormant. Read, think, restore. Winter isn't failure. It's preparation. Spring seasons are for planting and beginning. You're experimenting, trying new things. Not everything will grow. That's fine. Spring is about possibility, not perfection. If you're in a spring season, say yes to things. Explore. Be curious. Don't commit too deeply yet. You're still discovering what wants to grow. Summer seasons are for growth and expansion. You've found what works. Now you're scaling it. You're producing. You're visible. You're busy in a good way. If you're in a summer season, maximize it. Work hard. Build momentum. Harvest the energy. But watch for signs that summer is ending. Fall seasons are for harvest and release. You're completing things, finishing projects, letting go of what didn't work, preparing for the next winter. If you're in a fall season, don't start new things. Complete old things. Celebrate what you built. Release what's complete. Clear the ground for what's next. Most people try to be in summer all the time. They want constant growth, constant productivity, constant visibility. That's not sustainable. You need all 4 seasons. Trying to skip winter leads to burnout. Trying to skip fall leads to clutter. Honor the season you're in. Here's how to identify your current season. Look at your energy levels. High and expanding, summer. High but unfocused, spring. Low and confused, winter. Low and completing, fall. Look at your activities. Starting many things, spring. Focused on one big thing, summer. Not starting anything, winter. Finishing many things, fall. Once you know your season, adjust your expectations. If you're in winter, stop pressuring yourself to perform like it's summer. If you're in spring, stop expecting yourself to have the focus of summer. Each season has its own work. Do that work instead of fighting it. One more thing about seasons. They're fractal. You can be in a winter season in your career while in a summer season in your relationships. You can be in a spring season with your health while in a fall season with your creative projects. Life doesn't move in one big season. It moves in multiple simultaneous seasons across different domains. Pay attention to each area of your life separately. Career, relationships, health, creativity, spirituality, money. What season is each one in? Where are you trying to force summer energy into a winter season? Where are you avoiding fall's completion because you don't want to let go? Aligning with your seasons makes life easier. You're not swimming upstream. You're flowing with natural cycles. This doesn't mean being. Chapter 9 focuses on energy budgeting. Most people manage their time but ignore their energy. They pack their calendars and wonder why they're exhausted. They say yes to everything and have nothing left for what matters. Alignment requires energy. If you're depleted, you can't access it. Your energy is not infinite. You have a daily capacity. That capacity varies based on sleep, stress, nervous system state, and how aligned your activities are. Misaligned activities cost triple the energy of aligned ones. This is why you can work for 10 hours on the wrong thing and feel destroyed, or work for 4 hours on the right thing and feel energized. The first step in energy budgeting is tracking. For 1 week, notice what drains you and what fuels you. Write it down. Be specific. It's not just work that drains you. It's certain types of work. It's not just people who fuel you. It's certain types of interaction. At the end of the week, categorize your activities into 3 groups: energy positive, energy neutral, and energy negative. Energy positive activities leave you with more than you started. Energy neutral activities are a wash. Energy negative activities cost more than they give. Now look at your typical week. How much time are you spending in each category? If more than 40% of your time is in energy negative activities, you're running a deficit. You're spending more energy than you're generating. That's not sustainable. Something has to change. The goal isn't to eliminate all energy negative activities. Some are necessary. Grocery shopping, tax preparation, difficult conversations. But you can minimize them, delegate them, or batch them to reduce their impact. And you can make sure you're balancing them with enough energy positive activities to stay resourced. Most people do the opposite. They front-load their days with hard things, hoping to get them over with. Then they're too depleted to do anything else. Instead, start your day with something energy positive. Even 15 minutes. Prime your system for regulation and alignment. Then tackle the hard stuff. Then restore again. Build a rhythm that honors your capacity, not your fantasy capacity where you're superhuman. Your actual capacity on an average day. For most people, that's 3 to 5 hours of deep focused work, plus several hours of lighter activity. If you're trying to do 8 hours of deep work every day, you're failing because the goal is unrealistic. What if your job demands more than your capacity? Then you're either in the wrong job, or you need to renegotiate how you're working within it. Most people assume they have to push through depletion. You don't. You have to work smarter, not harder. That means aligning your work with your energy rhythms, delegating what you can, and protecting your capacity like the finite resource it is. Here's a weekly energy budget template. Start with your total weekly energy capacity. Let's say it's 100 units. Assign costs to your regular activities based on your tracking. Misaligned meetings, 10 units each. Aligned creative work, -5 units, meaning they fuel you. Add it up. If your activities cost more than 100 units, you're overspent. Cut something. This sounds overly rational for something as fluid as energy, but the exercise clarifies where you're bleeding. Most people are shocked when they see the math. They're spending 150 units on a 100-unit budget and wondering why they're burnt out. The answer is obvious once you track it. Protect your energy as fiercely as you protect your money. Say no to activities that cost too much. Say yes to activities that replenish you. Build margin into your schedule. Margin is the buffer that keeps you from toppling when something unexpected happens. Without margin, one bad day becomes a bad week, becomes a collapse. Let me tell you about Rachel. She ran a small marketing agency. 6 employees, 30 clients. She worked 70 hours a week and felt proud of her hustle. Then she started tracking her energy. What she discovered horrified her. 80% of her time went to energy-negative activities. Client crisis management, employee conflict resolution, administrative tasks she hated. She was running on fumes and it showed. Her creativity was gone. Her patience was gone. Her joy was completely gone. Rachel did the math. Her weekly energy budget was maybe 100 units on a good week. Her activities were costing her 200. She was running a 100-unit deficit every single week. No wonder she felt constantly exhausted. She was physiologically bankrupt. She made hard choices. She fired 3 of her most difficult clients. Yes, it cost her revenue. It also freed up 30 units of energy per week. She hired an operations manager to handle the admin work she hated. Another 20 units freed. She implemented a no-meeting Tuesday policy so she could do deep creative work. 10 more units of energy restored. Within 2 months, Rachel was working 45 hours a week instead of 70 and producing better work. She had energy for her family again. She started exercising. She felt like herself. The surprising part? Her revenue didn't drop. It increased. Because she was finally working from alignment instead of depletion. Aligned work is efficient work. Here's your 7-day energy tracking protocol. Get a small notebook or use your phone. Every 2 hours, rate your current energy level on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is completely depleted. 10 is fully energized. Also note what you were doing in those 2 hours. Be specific. Don't just write work. Write editing client proposals or brainstorming new campaigns. Details matter. Day 1, just track. Don't change anything. Establish your baseline. Most people are shocked by how low their energy runs throughout the day. Day 2, keep tracking. Start noticing patterns. What time of day is your energy highest? Lowest? What activities consistently drain you? What activities restore you? Day 3, still tracking. Now start categorizing. Mark each activity as energy positive, energy neutral, or energy negative. Use different colors or symbols to make patterns obvious. Day 4, continue tracking. Look at your relationships. Rate your energy before and after interactions with specific people. Some people are energy vampires. Others are energy generators. Identify them. Day 5, keep tracking. Now examine your environment. Does your workspace drain or fuel you? What about your home, your commute, your morning routine? Everything affects energy. Day 6, final day of baseline tracking. Look at your self-care habits. How does sleep quality affect your energy? Exercise, food, hydration? These basics compound. Day 7, review everything. Calculate your averages. What percentage of your time is energy negative? What's your average energy level throughout the day? What patterns emerge? This data tells you where to intervene. After your 7-day baseline, you'll have clarity about where your energy goes. Now comes the hard part, making changes. Most people resist this. They see what's draining them and make excuses about why they can't change it. I need the money. I can't disappoint them. I've always done it this way. These excuses are costing you your life. Start with the biggest energy drains. What's the single activity or relationship that costs you the most energy? Can you eliminate it? If not, can you minimize it? Can you delegate it? Can you restructure it? There's almost always a way to reduce the drain if you're willing to prioritize your energy over other people's comfort. Next, protect your energy-positive activities. These are your fuel sources. Most people schedule their depleting activities and hope to fit in the restoring ones if time allows. Backward. Schedule restoration first. Make it non-negotiable. Then fit the rest around it. Build your ideal energy week. Not your fantasy week where you're independently wealthy and obligation-free. Your ideal realistic week where you have to work and meet responsibilities, but you're doing it in an energy-conscious way. What would that look like? Start your mornings with 15 to 30 minutes of something energy positive. Maybe it's movement. Maybe it's creative work. Maybe it's sitting quietly with coffee before anyone else wakes up. Prime your nervous system before the demands start. Schedule your deep work during your peak energy hours. For most people, this is mid-morning. Don't waste your best energy on email and meetings. Use it for what matters most. Batch your energy-negative tasks. Instead of scattering them throughout the week, group them. Do all your admin on Friday afternoon. Have all your difficult conversations on Tuesday. Batching reduces the switching cost and contains the depletion. Build in restoration breaks. After every 90 minutes of focused work, take 10 minutes to restore. Walk, stretch, shake, breathe. These breaks aren't laziness. They're maintenance. They keep you from hitting total depletion. End your workday with a shutdown ritual. 5 minutes to close loops, make notes for tomorrow, and transition out of work mode. This prevents work energy from bleeding into your personal time. Protect your evenings. No email, no work calls, no thinking about work unless something is genuinely on fire. Your evenings are for restoration and connection. Treat them as sacred. 1 day per week, do no scheduled activities. Nothing. This is your margin day. Use it for whatever you need in the moment. Rest, play, catch up, create. Let it be unstructured. Now here's the reality check. Most people can't implement their ideal energy week immediately. You have obligations. You have limitations. Start small. Pick one energy drain to reduce this week. Pick one energy source to protect. Just one of each. Build momentum slowly. Here's a 30-day energy reclamation plan. Week 1. Track everything. Establish baseline. Don't change anything yet. Just observe. Build awareness of where your energy actually goes versus where you think it goes. Week 2. Eliminate or reduce one major energy drain. It could be a commitment, a relationship boundary, a habit, or a task. Choose something that will free up at least 10% of your energy. Feel the difference. Week 3. Add one daily energy positive practice. Morning movement. Evening journaling. Midday walk. Weekly massage. Something that consistently restores you. Make it non-negotiable. Week 4. Restructure your schedule to honor your energy rhythms. Move deep work to peak energy hours. Batch draining tasks. Build-in restoration breaks. Protect your margins. By the end of 30 days, you should feel noticeably different. Not perfect, not problem-free, but more resourced, more resilient, more like yourself. If you don't feel different, you haven't cut deep enough. Go back to your tracking data and find the bigger drains you're avoiding. Let's talk about the common obstacles people hit with energy budgeting. First obstacle, guilt. You feel guilty saying no. You feel guilty resting. You feel guilty prioritizing your energy over others' convenience. That guilt is programming. It's not truth. You're allowed to have limits. Practice saying, my energy is a finite resource, and I choose to spend it wisely. Second obstacle, fear of missing out. If you protect your time and energy, you might miss opportunities. Possibly, but you're definitely missing your life by being perpetually depleted. The opportunities that require you to abandon yourself aren't opportunities. They're traps. Third obstacle, identity. You've built an identity around being the person who never says no, who always helps, who works the hardest. Changing your energy management means changing your identity. That's uncomfortable. Do it anyway. The identity that's killing you isn't worth preserving. Fourth obstacle, systemic pressure. Your job, your family, your culture expects constant availability and productivity. You can't change the system immediately, but you can change how you operate within it. Set boundaries, delegate, automate, say no. The system will push back. Hold firm. Fifth obstacle, lack of support. The people in your life might resist your energy boundaries. They're used to you being available. They benefit from your depletion. When you start protecting your energy, they lose access. They'll guilt you. They'll argue. They'll say you've changed. You have. That's the point. Here's how to handle pushback when you start energy budgeting. First, stop explaining yourself. You don't owe anyone a justification for protecting your energy. I can't is a complete sentence, so is no. Practice using them without elaboration. Second, expect testing. When you first set a boundary, people will test it. They'll ask again. They'll push harder. They'll try guilt. This is normal. Hold your boundary. After a few tests, they'll learn you mean it. Third, offer alternatives when possible. Instead of saying, I can't help with that project, say, I can't help with that project, but I can introduce you to someone who might be able to. You're not being rigid. You're being strategic about your energy. Fourth, watch for energy vampires. Some people will never respect your boundaries. They're chronic takers. They'll always need more. You can't manage your energy effectively while maintaining relationships with energy vampires. Limit exposure or end the relationship. Fifth, build an aligned support system. Find people who understand energy management and respect boundaries. These relationships will reinforce your new patterns instead of undermining them. You need at least a few people in your life who get it. Now let's talk about energy types. Not everyone's energy works the same way. Some people are recharged by social interaction. Others are drained by it. Some people gain energy from novelty. Others need routine. Understanding your energy type helps you budget more effectively. Are you an introvert or an extrovert energetically? Introverts recharge alone. Extroverts recharge with people. Most people know this intellectually, but don't honor it practically. If you're an introvert, you need alone time built into every single day, non-negotiable. If you're an extrovert, you need social connection regularly or you'll wilt. Are you a morning person or an evening person? Your chronotype affects when you have peak energy. Morning people are most alert early. Evening people peak later. Schedule your deep work accordingly. Don't fight your chronotype. Work with it. Are you sprint-oriented or marathon-oriented? Some people work best in intense focused bursts with lots of rest between. Others prefer steady, consistent effort over time. Neither is better. They're just different. Honor your natural rhythm. Are you novelty-seeking or stability-seeking? Some people get energy from variety and new experiences. Others get energy from routine and predictability. Design your life accordingly. Too much novelty burns out stability seekers. Too much routine bores novelty seekers. Are you internal processing or external processing? Some people gain clarity by thinking alone. Others gain clarity by talking things through. Internal processors need quiet time to think. External processors need conversation partners. Give yourself what you need. Understanding these patterns helps you design an energy budget that actually works for your wiring instead of fighting it. Most people try to adopt energy management strategies that don't match their type. Then they fail and assume energy budgeting doesn't work. It does, but it has to be personalized. Here's an energy audit you can do quarterly. Set aside 30 minutes. Answer these questions honestly. What percentage of my time is spent on energy-positive activities? If it's below 30%, you're probably struggling. Aim for at least 40%. What's my average energy level throughout a typical day? If it's below 5 out of 10, you're running on empty. Something major needs to change. How many energy vampires am I tolerating? If the answer is more than 2, you're bleeding energy unnecessarily. Set boundaries or exit. How much margin is built into my schedule? If every day is packed with back-to-back activities, you have no buffer. Build in empty space. Am I honoring my energy type or fighting it? If you're an introvert scheduling constant social activities, you're working against yourself. Align your schedule with your type. What's one energy drain I could eliminate this quarter? Pick something. Commit to it. Follow through. What's one energy source I could add this quarter? Pick something. Schedule it. Protect it. Do these audits every 3 months. Your energy needs change with seasons, life circumstances, and developmental stages. What worked last quarter might not work now. Stay adaptive. One final piece about energy budgeting. Sometimes you need to spend energy you don't have. Crisis happens. Emergencies arise. Exceptional opportunities require exceptional effort. That's fine occasionally. The key word is occasionally. You can run an energy deficit for a short sprint. You cannot sustain it long-term without consequences. If you know a high-energy demand period is coming, prepare. Bank extra energy beforehand. Rest more. Simplify everything else. Give yourself recovery time afterward. Treat it like training for an athletic event. You wouldn't run a marathon without preparation and recovery. Don't run life marathons that way either. Your energy is your most valuable asset. More valuable than your time, your money, or your skills. Without energy, none of those other resources matter. You can't think clearly when you're depleted. You can't create value. You can't show up for the people you love. You can't access your alignment. Energy is foundational. Protect it accordingly. Chapter 10 reveals the magic multiplier. This is the concept that changes everything. 1 hour of aligned action produces more results than 10 hours of misaligned effort. Not because you're working smarter, though you are. Because alignment creates momentum. When you're misaligned, every action is friction. You're pushing uphill. You're fighting resistance. You get tired quickly and achieve slowly. When you're aligned, every action is flow. You're moving with momentum. You feel energized and achieve rapidly. Think about a time when you accomplished something significant with surprising ease. Not because it was easy, but because you were in alignment. The work felt like play. The hours flew by. The results exceeded your effort. That's the multiplier in action. You can't force the multiplier, but you can create conditions for it. First, work on things that genuinely matter to you. Not things that look impressive or sound important. Things that spark curiosity and care. When you care, you bring your full attention. Full attention is where magic happens. Second, work in your zone of genius. Everyone has activities where they're exceptional with ease. For some, it's strategy. For others, it's connection. For others, it's creation. When you work in your zone of genius, you produce disproportionate results. When you work outside it, you produce average results with extraordinary effort. Most people spend most of their time outside their zone of genius. They're doing things they're okay at instead of things they're exceptional at. This is inefficient and exhausting. The aligned life is built in your zone of genius. Everything else should be delegated, automated, or eliminated. Third, work in cycles, not marathons. Your brain can sustain deep focus for 60 to 90 minutes, then it needs rest. If you push past that, you get diminishing returns. Work in focused sprints with rest in between. You'll accomplish more in 4 focused hours than 8 unfocused ones. The multiplier also applies to relationships, decisions, and opportunities. One aligned relationship is worth 10 misaligned ones. One aligned opportunity is worth 10 misaligned grinds. Stop collecting more. Start choosing better. Here's the aligned hour experiment. Choose one project or task you've been avoiding or struggling with. Clear a single hour. Turn off all distractions. Get into a regulated state using the tools from Chapter 3. Then work on the task from a place of full alignment. Just 1 hour. Notice the quality of your work. Notice how you feel. Compare it to your usual approach. Most people are shocked by the difference. That 1 hour produces more than days of fragmented effort. Why? Because attention without resistance is powerful. You're not fighting yourself. You're channeling yourself. That's the multiplier. Now imagine structuring your entire life this way. Imagine every hour being aligned. You'd work less and accomplish more. You'd feel less busy and more fulfilled. You'd stop grinding and start flowing. That's not fantasy. That's what alignment creates. Let me tell you about Chen. He was a software engineer at a big tech company. He worked 60-hour weeks writing code he didn't care about for products he didn't believe in. He was good at it. He got promoted. He was miserable and burned out. Every line of code felt like pulling teeth. What used to take him 2 hours now took 8. He thought he was losing his edge. Then he started a side project, something he actually cared about, an app to help independent musicians manage their gigs and finances. He worked on it for 2 hours every Saturday morning. Just 2 hours. In those 2 hours, he accomplished what took him 20 hours at his day job. Better code, more creative solutions, fewer bugs. He wasn't suddenly more skilled. He was finally aligned. 6 months later, Chen's side project had more users than some products his company spent millions building. He didn't work harder on his side project. He worked aligned. That alignment multiplied every hour of effort. Eventually, he quit his job and went full-time on the app. His income dropped initially. His output tripled. Within a year, he'd surpassed his corporate salary and was working 30 hours a week instead of 60. That's the multiplier. It doesn't make work effortless, but it makes effort effective. When you're aligned, your work compounds. Each action builds on the last. You create momentum. When you're misaligned, your work scatters. Each action stands alone. Nothing compounds. You're starting from zero every day. Here's how to find your zone of genius. Make a list of activities where you produce exceptional results with relative ease. Not things you're good at through sheer force of will. Things that feel natural. Where do people consistently ask, how do you do that? Where do you lose track of time? Where do you feel most alive? Now, compare that list to how you spend your time. For most people, there's a massive gap. They spend maybe 10% of their time in their zone of genius and 90% outside it. Flip that ratio. Spend at least 50% of your time in your zone of genius. Delegate or eliminate the rest. But I can't delegate everything, you're thinking. I have responsibilities. True, but you're not as stuck as you think. Most people haven't seriously tried to restructure their life around their zone of genius. They accept the default structure and work within it. Question the default. What if you rebuilt everything around your strengths? Here's a radical exercise. Design your perfect aligned week. Not your fantasy week where you're on a beach with no responsibilities. Your perfect realistic week where you have to work and meet obligations. But you've structured everything around alignment. What does that look like? Start with your zone of genius activities. What percentage of your time is spent there? In your perfect aligned week, that should be at least 50%. Maybe 75% if you're self-employed or have flexibility. Next, look at necessary but draining activities. What's the minimum time you could spend here? What could you delegate? What could you automate? What could you simply stop doing? Most people are shocked when they realize how much they do out of habit, not necessity. Then consider your energy rhythms. When is your energy highest? That's when you should do your most important work. When is it lowest? That's when you should do low-stakes tasks or rest. Most people structure their days backward, wasting peak energy on email and meetings. Build in restoration. How much do you need? Daily movement, weekly nature time, monthly creative play, quarterly retreats. Your restoration isn't optional. It's what keeps you resourced enough to access alignment. Schedule it first, not last. Now look at your current week versus your perfect aligned week. What's the gap? That gap is costing you the multiplier effect. Every hour you spend outside alignment is an hour that produces a fraction of what it could. Every hour in alignment multiplies. You probably can't close the gap overnight, but you can close it incrementally. This month, shift 5% more of your time toward alignment. Next month, another 5%. Within a year, you could be at 75% aligned time. Imagine what that would do for your results, your energy, your life. One more thing about the multiplier. It's non-linear. 2 aligned hours don't produce twice the results of 1. They produce 4 times the results. 4 aligned hours don't produce 4 times the results. They produce 16 times the results. The effects compound exponentially. This is why people who work from alignment seem to achieve impossible things. They're not superhuman. They're just tapping into exponential returns. The inverse is also true. Misalignment compounds negatively. One misaligned hour doesn't just waste that hour. It depletes you for the next hour. Two misaligned hours don't waste 2 hours. They waste 4. The drag compounds. This is why people who push through misalignment seem to work all the time and achieve nothing. They're caught in negative compounding. Break the negative cycle. Stop one misaligned activity. Just one. Feel the relief. Use that freed energy to start one aligned activity. Feel the momentum. Let that momentum build. Before long, you're in positive compounding territory. That's when life starts feeling magical. Chapter 11 reframes obstacles as recalibration. When you're aligned, obstacles don't disappear, but they change meaning. Instead of seeing them as failures, you see them as course corrections. Instead of collapsing into doubt, you extract their guidance. The universe is constantly giving you feedback. When something goes wrong, it's information. When a door closes, it's redirection. When things feel hard, it's a signal to pause and reassess. Most people interpret obstacles as evidence they're on the wrong path. Sometimes that's true. More often, obstacles are fine-tuning mechanisms. There's a difference between alignment obstacles and misalignment obstacles. Alignment obstacles test your commitment. They're challenging but energizing. You feel stretched, not broken. Misalignment obstacles crush you. They're depleting and demoralizing. You feel like you're failing no matter what you do. Learn to distinguish between the two. Ask yourself, does this obstacle make me want to dig deeper or give up? Aligned obstacles invoke determination. Misaligned obstacles invoke despair. That feeling tells you whether to push through or pivot. When you face an obstacle, pause. Don't react. Ask, what is this teaching me? What's being revealed? What needs to shift? Most obstacles arise because you're slightly off course. They're not stop signs. They're yield signs. Slow down, adjust, continue. Here's a reframe practice. Take a recent setback, something that felt like failure. Write down what happened. Now ask, what did this protect me from? What opportunity did this create? What truth did this reveal? Force yourself to find 3 answers for each question. This isn't toxic positivity, it's pattern recognition. Obstacles often redirect you toward something better that you couldn't see at the time. Marcus, our consultant friend, got rejected from 3 nonprofit clients before landing his first yes. Each rejection stung, but each rejection also refined his pitch. By the time he got to the 4th conversation, he knew exactly how to articulate his value. The no's weren't failures, they were preparation. Some obstacles are pointing you elsewhere entirely. You keep hitting walls because you're meant to turn around. This is the hardest lesson. We're taught that persistence is always virtuous. Sometimes persistence is stubbornness. Sometimes the wise move is to stop, pivot, and try a different direction. How do you know when to persist and when to pivot? Check your energy. Are you depleted or determined? Check your curiosity. Are you still learning or just suffering? Check your body. Does this path feel open or closed? If you're depleted, not learning, and feeling closed, pivot. If you're determined, curious, and feeling challenged but open, persist. Let me tell you about Yuki. She spent 3 years trying to build an online course business. She did everything right according to the experts. Built an audience, created content, launched her course, crickets. She revised and relaunched, more crickets. She tried different marketing strategies. Nothing worked. She felt like a failure. For 3 years, Yuki interpreted every failed launch as evidence she needed to try harder. Work longer. Get better at marketing. Master more strategies. She was persistent. She was determined. She was completely misaligned. The obstacle wasn't teaching her how to succeed at course creation. It was screaming that course creation wasn't her path. Finally, exhausted and defeated, Yuki stopped. She took a month off. This is the art of reading obstacles. Some obstacles say push through, others say turn around. Most people can't tell the difference because they're not paying attention to how obstacles feel. Alignment obstacles are frustrating but engaging. You want to solve them. Misalignment obstacles are frustrating and deadening. You want to escape them. Here's a decision tree for obstacles. Is this obstacle teaching me something useful? If yes, stay and learn. If no, consider pivoting. Am I growing from this challenge? If yes, persist. If no, question the direction. Do I feel energized to overcome this or depleted by facing it? Energized means aligned obstacle. Depleted means misaligned. Is this obstacle recurring or novel? Recurring obstacles in the same area often mean you're off path. Novel obstacles are part of growth. What would I tell my best friend if they faced this? Sometimes external perspective clarifies what your ego obscures. When you face your next obstacle, run through this tree. Be honest with your answers. Most people lie to themselves because they've invested too much to admit they're on the wrong path. The sunk cost fallacy keeps them grinding at misaligned goals. Your past investment doesn't obligate your future. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Pivot. Here's a powerful reframe. Every obstacle is either an invitation to grow or an invitation to change direction. Growth obstacles expand your capacity. Direction obstacles redirect your path. Both are valuable. Neither is failure. The only mistake is ignoring the invitation. Start viewing obstacles as information instead of indictment. When something goes wrong, your first question shouldn't be, what's wrong with me? It should be, what's this trying to tell me? That shift in framing changes everything. You're no longer defending against failure. You're receiving guidance. Practice this reframe daily. When something doesn't work out, say out loud, this is information. What's it telling me? Your brain will start finding answers. Patterns will emerge. You'll get better at reading the signals. Obstacles will feel less like punishment and more like course correction. One more critical distinction. Alignment doesn't mean everything is easy. Some aligned paths are incredibly difficult. The difficulty isn't the problem. The question is, does this difficulty have meaning? Does it serve your growth? Does it move you towards something you value? Meaningful difficulty is sustainable. Meaningless difficulty is destructive. Chen, the software engineer we met earlier, worked incredibly hard on his app. Harder than he ever worked at his corporate job. But the hard work felt different. It had purpose. It built something he believed in. He was tired at the end of the day, but it was good tired. Fulfilled tired. The corporate job left him tired and empty. The aligned work left him tired and satisfied. That's the difference. Don't confuse alignment with comfort. Aligned work can be uncomfortable, challenging, even scary. But underneath the discomfort is a sense of rightness. A knowing that you're where you should be, doing what you should be doing. Misaligned work might be comfortable and familiar, but underneath is a sense of wrongness. A knowing that you're off path. Trust the knowing. It's more reliable than the comfort. Most people trade their knowing for comfort and spend decades regretting it. Don't be most people. Choose alignment even when it's uncomfortable. The discomfort is temporary. The regret of ignoring your truth lasts forever. Here's a 30-day obstacle reframing practice. Week 1. Document every obstacle you face. Big or small. Write down what happened and how you interpreted it. Most people don't realize how many obstacles they face or how negatively they interpret them. Week 2. For each obstacle from week 1, ask the 3 reframe questions. What did this protect me from? What opportunity did this create? What truth did this reveal? Force yourself to find positive answers. This rewires your obstacle interpretation. Week 3. Start reframing obstacles in real time. When something goes wrong, immediately ask, what's this teaching me? Don't wait to journal about it later. Reframe it in the moment. This builds the skill of extracting wisdom from difficulty. Week 4. Review the month. Which obstacles were invitations to grow? Which were invitations to change direction? What patterns emerged? What did you learn about your path? Use this wisdom going forward. After 30 days of deliberate reframing, obstacles will feel different. Not pleasant necessarily, but informative. You'll trust that setbacks are setups. That closed doors lead to better doors. That what feels like an ending is often a beginning. This trust makes you resilient. Resilience makes you unstoppable. Chapter 12 brings us to living in alignment. This is the 30-day integration that turns everything you've learned into a sustainable practice. Alignment isn't a one-time achievement. It's a daily orientation. It's a skill you build and maintain. Your alignment practice has 3 components: morning attunement, midday check-in, and evening reflection. Each takes less than 5 minutes. Together, they keep you connected to your truth throughout the day. Morning attunement sets your intention. Before you check your phone, before you start your to-do list, you tune in. Ask yourself, how do I feel right now? What do I need today? What's one aligned action I can take? Then use one of the nervous system tools from Chapter 3. Shake, breathe, or use cold. Start regulated. Midday check-in recalibrates. Around noon or whenever your energy dips, pause. Step away from your work. Ask, am I still aligned or have I drifted? Have I been honoring my energy or overriding it? What needs to shift for the rest of the day? Make one small adjustment. That's enough. Evening reflection integrates. Before bed, review your day. What felt aligned? What felt misaligned? What synchronicities appeared? What did I learn? Write it down or think through it. This reflection turns experience into wisdom. Without it, you repeat patterns without learning from them. These 3 practices take 15 minutes total. 15 minutes to stay connected to yourself. Most people spend more time scrolling social media. This is infinitely more valuable. Beyond the daily practice, run the alignment diagnostic quarterly. Check in with your goals. Are they still yours? Are they still true? Life changes. You change. Your goals should evolve with you. What aligned 6 months ago might not align now. Update accordingly. Also keep tracking synchronicities. The more you notice them, the more they appear. You're training your awareness to recognize when you're on the right path. Over time, this becomes second nature. You don't have to work to stay aligned. You just notice when you drift and adjust quickly. Build a community of aligned people. Find friends, mentors, or peers who are also committed to living their truth. Share your challenges and wins. Support each other's growth. Alignment is easier in community. You need people who reflect your commitment back to you, especially when you doubt. Expect resistance. Not every day will feel aligned. You'll have days where you override yourself, ignore your intuition, and revert to old patterns. That's normal. You're rewiring decades of conditioning. What matters isn't perfection. It's returning to alignment when you notice you've drifted. When you mess up, which you will, be kind to yourself. Shame keeps you stuck. Curiosity helps you learn. Ask what happened, not what's wrong with you. Ask what you needed that you didn't give yourself. Then adjust and try again. Over 30 days of this practice, you'll notice shifts. Some will be subtle. You'll make decisions faster. You'll feel less anxious. You'll enjoy your days more. Some will be dramatic. You'll quit something that's been draining you. You'll start something you've been avoiding. You'll have a conversation that changes a relationship. Track these shifts. Write them down. On days when alignment feels hard, review what's already changed. Remind yourself that this works. You have evidence. Keep going. By day 30, alignment won't feel like a practice. It will feel like your natural state. You'll notice immediately when you drift because misalignment will feel wrong. That sensitivity is the goal. You're not trying to be perfectly aligned every moment. You're trying to notice quickly when you're not and correct course. Here's your comprehensive 30-day integration plan. This is where everything comes together. Each day builds on the last. Each week deepens your practice. By the end, alignment will be your default, not your aspiration. Week 1 is about establishing your baseline and building awareness. This is foundation work. You can't change what you don't see. Day 1. Run the full alignment diagnostic from Chapter 2. Score yourself honestly. Write down your results. This is your starting point. You'll run it again on day 30 to measure progress. Day 2. Complete your 7-question desire versus should audit. For every major area of your life, ask, is this genuinely mine or borrowed from others? Be brutally honest. Most people discover they're living 40 to 60% borrowed desires. Day 3. Start your energy tracking protocol. Every 2 hours, rate your energy level and note what you're doing. Just observe today. Don't change anything. You're gathering data. Day 4. Continue energy tracking. Also begin relationship tracking. After every interaction, note whether you feel more yourself or less yourself, more energized or more drained. Patterns will emerge quickly. Day 5. Keep tracking energy in relationships. Add nervous system tracking. How regulated do you feel throughout the day? What triggers dysregulation? What restores regulation? This is crucial information. Day 6. Final day of intensive tracking. By now you have a clear picture of where you're. Day 7, Integration Day. Take everything you learned this week and identify your top 3 energy drains and your top 3 energy sources. Write them down. These are your intervention points for Week 2. Week 2 is about making your first changes. You're not overhauling your life. You're making strategic adjustments based on what you learned in Week 1. Day 8. Eliminate or reduce 1 major energy drain. This should be something that showed up consistently in your tracking as depleting. Maybe it's a commitment you resign from. Maybe it's a boundary you set. Maybe it's a task you delegate. Make one real change today. Day 9. Add one daily energy positive practice. Based on your tracking, you know what restores you. Morning movement, evening journaling, midday walk, afternoon tea ritual. Pick one thing that consistently fuels you and make it non-negotiable. Schedule it. Protect it. Day 10. Practice the 48-hour rule with one pending decision. Something you've been waffling on. Instead of deciding immediately or avoiding indefinitely, give yourself 48 hours. Sit with both options. Notice which one your body relaxes into. Then choose. Day 11. Set one clear boundary with someone in your life. Use the formula from Chapter 7. Acknowledge the relationship, state your truth, offer what you can. This will feel uncomfortable. Do it anyway. Discomfort is part of growth. Day 12. Do the aligned hour experiment from Chapter 10. Choose one task or project. Clear distractions. Regulate your system. Work for one fully focused hour from alignment. Document what you accomplish. Compare it to your usual fragmented approach. Day 13. Release something complete. A project, a goal, an identity, a commitment, something that came up in your seasonal assessment as finished. Do the release ritual from Chapter 8. Thank it. Let it go. Day 14. Mid-challenge review. You're halfway through week 2. How do you feel compared to day 1? What's already different? What's been harder than expected? What's been easier? Write it all down. This reflection solidifies the learning. Week 3 is about deepening your practice and building resilience. You've made initial changes. Now you're dealing with resistance. Day 15. Address your biggest relationship misalignment. There's someone you've been avoiding having an honest conversation with. Today's the day. Use the tools from Chapter 7. Be honest, be kind. Be clear. The relationship will either deepen or end, and either outcome serves your alignment. Day 16. Redesign one day of your week around your energy rhythms. Pick your most important work day. Schedule deep work during peak energy hours. Batch draining tasks. Build in restoration breaks. Actually live this schedule today. Notice the difference. Day 17. Practice micro-honesty all day. Every interaction, tell the truth. Not brutally, kindly, but honestly. I actually prefer tea. I'm not available for that. I need some space today. Track how many times you usually lie by omission to keep people comfortable. Start choosing truth. Day 18. Do a digital detox check. Review who you follow on social media. Unfollow anyone who makes you feel inadequate, anxious, or angry. Your digital environment affects your alignment as much as your physical environment. Curate it ruthlessly. Day 19. Implement the obstacle reframe practice. Something will go wrong today. It always does. When it does, immediately ask the 3 questions. What did this protect me from? What opportunity did this create? What truth did this reveal? Reframe the setback in real time. Day 20. Zone of genius audit. List all activities where you're exceptional with ease. Compare that to how you actually spend your time. The gap between these two is costing you the multiplier effect. Identify one activity outside your zone of genius that you could delegate, automate, or eliminate. Day 21. Week 3 review. You're 2/3 through. How has resistance shown up? Where have people pushed back on your changes? How have you handled it? What's clearer now than it was 2 weeks ago? Document everything. Week 4 is about solidifying your practice and preparing for life after the 30 days. This is where short-term changes become long-term habits. Day 22. Create your personalized morning attunement ritual. Based on everything you've learned about yourself, design a 5 to 15-minute morning practice that sets you up for alignment. Include nervous system regulation, intention setting, and one energy-positive activity. Do it today. You'll do it every day going forward. Day 23. Build your midday check-in protocol. What specific questions will you ask yourself? What adjustments will you be willing to make? How will you ensure you actually pause instead of pushing through? Design it. Implement it today. Day 24. Establish your evening reflection ritual. Will you journal? Think through specific questions. Review your synchronicity tracker. Make this simple enough that you'll actually do it when you're tired. Test it tonight. Day 25. Plan your quarterly alignment audit. Put dates in your calendar for the next 4 quarters. On these dates, you'll run the alignment diagnostic, review your goals, assess your energy budget, and make course corrections. Quarterly check-ins prevent drift. Day 26. Identify your relapse triggers. What situations, people, or circumstances are most likely to knock you out of alignment? When do you typically abandon yourself? What are your early warning signs of drift? Write them down. This awareness is your first line of defense. Day 27. Create your realignment protocol. When you notice you've drifted out of alignment, what specific steps will you take to return? This is your emergency toolkit. It might include the nervous system tools, calling an aligned friend, doing the energy audit, or taking a day off. Have a plan before you need it. Day 28. Build your support structure. Who are your aligned people? Who can you call when you're doubting yourself? Who will tell you the truth when you're lying to yourself? Who celebrates your growth? Identify these people. Reach out to them. Let them know you value their presence in your life. Day 29. Reflect on the entire journey. Read back through everything you've written over the past month. How different do you feel? What surprised you? What was harder than expected? What was easier? What do you want to continue? What needs adjustment? This comprehensive review shows you how far you've come. Day 30. Run the alignment diagnostic again. Compare your score to day 1. Most people gain 2 to 4 points. Some gain more. The number matters less than how it feels. Do you feel more connected to your truth? More confident in your choices? More energized by your life? If yes, the practice is working. Keep going. Now let's talk about what happens after day 30. This is where most people fail. They complete a program, feel great, then slowly drift back to old patterns. You're not going to do that. Here's why. You're going to implement a relapse prevention plan. First, understand that relapse is normal. You won't maintain perfect alignment forever. Life throws curveballs. Stress accumulates. Old patterns resurface. The question isn't if you'll drift, it's how quickly you'll notice and correct. That's what we're optimizing for. Here are the 5 most common relapse patterns and how to handle each one. Pattern 1. Gradual drift. You don't wake up one day completely misaligned. You drift slowly. The small compromise here, an override there. Individually, they're minor. Collectively, they add up. Prevention. The quarterly audit catches this. Every 3 months, you check in. If you're drifting, you course correct before it becomes a crisis. Pattern 2. Crisis override. Something urgent happens. Family emergency. Work deadline. Health scare. You abandon your alignment practices to handle the crisis. The crisis passes, but you never restart the practices. Prevention. Expect crises. When they happen, explicitly say, I'm pausing my practices for this acute situation. I will restart on this specific date. Put it in your calendar. Honor it. Pattern 3. Social pressure regression. You're around people who don't value alignment. Family holidays, old friend groups, work cultures. Their energy pulls you back to old patterns. Prevention. Before entering these situations, remind yourself who you are now. Set boundaries in advance. Plan your exit strategy. Limit exposure. Pattern 4. Success complacency. Things are going well. You feel great. You start skipping practices because you don't think you need them anymore. Then slowly things deteriorate. Prevention. Remember that the practices maintain your alignment. They're not just for crisis recovery. When things are good, the practices are why. Keep doing them. Pattern 5. Doubt spiral. You have a bad day or week. You start doubting whether alignment works. Maybe you were fooling yourself. Maybe it's all woo-woo nonsense. Maybe you should just go back to grinding. Prevention. Expect doubt. It's part of the process. When it comes, review your evidence. Look at your day 1 diagnostic versus day 30. Look at your synchronicity log. The proof is in the results. Trust the data, not the doubt. For each of these patterns, early detection is key. The longer you're out of alignment before noticing, the harder it is to return. Here are your early warning signs. Physical, chronic fatigue, tension headaches, digestive issues, sleep problems, getting sick frequently. Your body signals misalignment before your mind admits it. Emotional, persistent anxiety, low-grade depression, irritability, emotional numbness, mood swings. When you're aligned, your baseline emotional state is relatively stable and positive. Deviation signals drift, behavioral, procrastination, social withdrawal. If you notice 3 or more of these warning signs for more than a week, you're drifting. Time for intervention. Don't wait until you're in crisis. Catch the drift early. Here's your emergency realignment protocol. Use this when you've drifted and need to come back. Step 1. Pause everything non-essential for 48 hours. Cancel what you can. Postpone the rest. Create space. You can't realign while operating at full capacity. Step 2. Intensive nervous system regulation. Use the shaking practice 3 times per day, extended exhales every hour, cold exposure in the morning. Get your system out of fight or flight. Alignment is impossible from a dysregulated state. Step 3. Radical honesty audit. Where have you been lying to yourself? What truths have you been avoiding? What boundaries have you let slip? Write it all down. You can't fix what you won't acknowledge. Step 4. Make one aligned choice immediately. Don't wait to fix everything. Choose one thing that's clearly misaligned and change it today. Cancel one draining commitment. Have one honest conversation. Set one boundary. Take one action that signals to yourself, I'm choosing alignment again. Step 5. Reconnect with aligned people. Call someone from your support structure. Tell them you've drifted. Ask them to help you remember why alignment matters. You don't have to do this alone. Step 6. Return to daily practices. Morning attunement. Midday check-in. Evening reflection. Even if you do nothing else, do these 3. They're your anchor. They keep you connected to yourself. This emergency protocol should get you back to baseline within a week. If you're still struggling after a week, something deeper is going on. That's when you consider getting external support. A coach, a therapist, a mentor, someone who can see your blind spots. Now let's talk about micro-challenges. These are small daily practices that keep your alignment muscles strong. Do one per day. Rotate through them. They prevent complacency. Micro-challenge 1. Say no to something today without explaining. Just no. Notice the urge to justify. Resist it. Your no is complete. Micro-challenge 2. Choose desire over should in one decision. What do you actually want for lunch? Wear what you want, not what's expected. Small choices build the muscle. Micro-challenge 3. Spend 10 minutes in complete silence. No phone, no music, no distractions. Just you and your thoughts. Notice what comes up. Micro-challenge 4. Tell an uncomfortable truth. Something you've been avoiding saying. Not to be cruel, to be honest. Notice what happens. Micro-challenge 5. Do something from your zone of genius for 30 minutes. Even if it's not productive. Even if it doesn't make money. Do it because you're exceptional at it and it lights you up. Micro-challenge 6. Identify one toleration and eliminate it. Something you've been putting up with. Broken item. Annoying subscription. Uncomfortable clothing. Handle it today. Micro-challenge 7. Track your energy for just today. Note what drains and fuels you. Stay aware. Awareness prevents unconscious depletion. Micro-challenge 8. Practice the 48-hour rule on a tiny decision. Should you respond to that email now? Should you go to that event? Give yourself 2 days. Notice if the urgency was real or manufactured. Micro-challenge 9. Do one thing that scares you slightly. Call someone you've been avoiding. Start the project you've been postponing. Have the conversation you've been dreading. Aligned action often requires courage. Micro-challenge 10. Celebrate something you accomplished. Acknowledge yourself. Most people only notice what's wrong. Deliberately notice what's right. Rotate through these micro-challenges. They keep you engaged with alignment without requiring massive effort. Small daily choices compound into transformed lives. One final piece. Measuring alignment over time. How do you know if this is actually working? You need metrics. Not to judge yourself, but to track progress and adjust course. Here are the 5 key alignment indicators. Energy level. Rate your average daily energy on a scale of 1 to 10. Track it monthly. If you're truly aligning, this number should trend upward over time. Not every month will be higher, but the overall direction should be up. Decision speed. How long does it take you to make decisions? Aligned people decide faster because they're clear on their truth. If decisions are getting quicker, you're aligning. Synchronicity frequency. How many helpful coincidences happen per month? Track them. If the number is increasing, you're on the right path. Alignment creates synchronicities. Relationship quality. Rate your 5 closest relationships on alignment, authenticity, and energy exchange. Monthly scores should improve as you align. Some relationships might end, but the ones that remain should deepen. Results to effort ratio. How much are you accomplishing relative to how hard you're working? This is subjective but important. Alignment should mean you're producing more with less grinding. If you're working harder for the same results, something's off. Track these 5 indicators monthly. Put a reminder in your calendar, 5 minutes to rate each one and note any patterns. Over a year, you'll see clear trends. Those trends tell you whether your alignment practices are working or need adjustment. You now have everything you need. The framework, the practices, the warning signs, the recovery protocol, the micro-challenges, the metrics. This isn't theory anymore. It's a complete operating system for living aligned. What changes immediately when you implement this? You'll feel less drained. You'll make faster decisions. You'll notice helpful coincidences multiply. You'll start enjoying your days instead of just surviving them. These changes can happen within the first week. What changes over the full 30 days? Your life begins reorganizing around what's actually true for you. Relationships shift. Misaligned ones fall away or transform. Aligned ones deepen. Opportunities appear that match your truth. Dead weight drops. You look in the mirror and recognize yourself again. You're no longer performing a version of you. You're just you. What changes over 90 days? This is when it gets remarkable. You'll look back and barely recognize the person who started this journey. Not because you became someone new, because you finally became yourself. The weight of should has lifted. The clarity of desire has emerged. The joy of aligned action has become your norm. You're not perfect. You're just honest, and that honesty creates a life that actually fits. What changes over a year? Everything and nothing. Everything externally might look similar. Same job, same city, same relationships. But the internal experience is completely different. You're no longer at war with yourself. You're no longer fighting your truth. You're no longer exhausted from pretending. You're aligned. And from that alignment, everything you do becomes more effective, more enjoyable, more meaningful. The magic was never external. It was always the natural result of internal coherence meeting deliberate action. When you stop fighting yourself, when you start honoring your truth, when you align your actions with your actual values and desires, life responds. Not because you manifested it through positive thinking, because you removed the friction that was blocking natural flow. You've been trying so hard to make things work while fundamentally misaligned. It's like driving with the parking brake on. You can do it, but it's exhausting, inefficient, and damaging. Release the brake. That's alignment. Suddenly everything becomes easier. Not effortless, but easier. You're working with yourself instead of against yourself. You're working with reality instead of against it. This is available to you, not someday, right now. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need more information. You need to choose. Choose alignment over comfort. Choose truth over performance. Choose yourself over others' expectations. Make that choice today. Then make it again tomorrow, and the next day. Each aligned choice reinforces the next. Each time you honor your truth, it becomes easier to honor it again. Each time you set a boundary, the next boundary feels less scary. Each time you follow your intuition and it works out, you trust your intuition more. This is how you build an aligned life. One choice at a time, one day at a time, one honest moment at a time. You don't have to be brave forever. You just have to be brave right now. Take one aligned action today, just one, then see what happens. Then take another. String together enough aligned actions and you'll look up one day and realize you're living a completely different life. A life that feels like yours. A life that energizes instead of depletes you. A life that makes sense from the inside, even if it looks unconventional from the outside. That life is waiting. Not on the other side of more achievement. Not on the other side of more approval. Not on the other side of more sacrifice. On the other side of alignment. And alignment starts with one choice. One honest moment. One brave no. One liberating yes. You have everything you need. You've always had it. You just needed permission to trust it. Consider this your permission. Align with your truth. Honor your body. Follow your synchronicities. Release what's complete. Protect your energy. Live from your core. It feels like magic when you align. Not because the laws of physics change. Because you stop fighting them. Not because life becomes perfect. Because it becomes yours. Not because you gain something you didn't have. Because you finally access what's always been there. It's now. It's been waiting. And finally, you're ready for it. Welcome home.